Hi guys, today we're going to learn how to round decimals to the tenths place, okay? So before we get started, let's talk about our place value again, okay? So remember we said that all the numbers that are in front of the decimal place value are whole numbers. And then all the numbers after the place value are your decimals. And these are less than 1, okay? So we have 3 place values. So we have our tenths place, our hundredths place, and our thousandths place. So today we're going to be rounding to the tenths place, okay? Which means we're going to have to look at our hundredths place to figure out whether we round up or down, okay? So let's get started with our first example. Let's say we have 0 and 48 hundredths, okay? So I like to use a number line to help me figure out whether I'm going to be rounding up or down, okay? So first of all, I'm going to underline the tenths place because I'm rounding to the tenths place. This is the tenths place, okay? So we know we have a 4 in the tenths place. So that means that I have 0.40 or 0 and 40 tenths, okay? So this is going to be where we start. Now, if we round up, that means we add 1 more to the tenths, which means that that would give me 0 and 50 tenths, okay? This is rounding up. This is rounding down, okay? So now we have to figure out where exactly does 0 and 48 tenths land. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the rest of my number line. Here we have 0 and 40 tenths. So the next one is 41 tenths, 42 tenths, 43 tenths, 44 tenths, 45 tenths, 46 tenths, 47 tenths, 48 tenths, 49 tenths, okay? So I was able to fill in my number line, okay? So now let's talk about what is halfway through between 40 tenths and 50 tenths, okay? So we know halfway is right here. 45 tenths is halfway, okay? So if we are at 48 tenths, that means we, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where we are right now, 48 tenths, okay? So here's how I figure out whether I'm going to round up or down. I like to think of this number line as a race. So 40 is my start, and 50 is my finish, okay? So I start at 40 tenths, and I'm going to run my race all the way until here, because this is where I am, okay? So now I have to tell myself, am I closer to the finish line or am I closer to the starting point? Okay, so if you notice, I passed the halfway point. After you pass halfway, then you're closer to the finish line. So that means that I would round up to 0 and 50 tenths, okay? So if we look at the hundredths place, I know that 8 is closer to the finish line because it's 48 tenths. 48 hundredths. And we are going to round up to the next place value. Okay? So now let's do one more example. Let's say we have 3 and 24 hundredths. Okay? So this time, again, we're rounding to the tenths place. So we're going to write 3 and 20 tenths. And the next one over here is 3, because the whole number stays the same. We're not messing with it. 30 tenths, because we're going to round up to 30 or down to 20. Okay? So we're going to fill in. This would be 3 and 21, 3 and 22, 3 and 23, 3 and 24, 3 and 25, 3 and 26, 3 and 27, 3 and 28, 3 and 29, and finally 30, okay? So remember, our halfway point is right here. 3 and 25 is our halfway point. So we're gonna find 3 and 24 hundredths, which is right here. So I'm gonna put a red dot, okay? So remember, we always start at the start, and this is our finish. So if I'm running my race, and I stop right here, okay? Am I closer to the start, or am I closer to the finish? So we look over and see how this 4 is not close enough to the halfway point, okay? We have not passed the halfway point. So we would have to round down to 3 and 20 hundredths.